Hello and welcome to our midweek conversation at First Baptist Church Sweetwater. My name is Jerry Hendricks, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Teek Hamilton. Hey, Teek.
Hi, Jerry.
What's up, buddy?
I'm on the third floor.
I know, man. I like the scene there. It's a beautiful scene of Sweetwater, Texas, and it couldn't be better today.
Agreed.
Yeah. Hey, we've got a special edition of our podcast today, and it's been a while since we've had a guest. And since we were doing a lot of these Zoom calls, we thought it might be good and timely to bring in a good friend of ours, Bobby Cooley. Hello, Bobby.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, we're glad that you're here to join us today. And we've asked Bobby to come in for some very specific reasons. He has a very unique role. I guess I say unique in compared to most churches in his ministry role there in Kingsland. And it's also very fitting and timely, his role as it applies to this crisis that we're in, where so many people are functioning from home. So, Bobby, tell us a little bit about your current position and role, and maybe how that's even changed recently with this virus.
Yeah, so I've known you guys for a long time,
It's been a while now.
doing student ministry for, gosh, it was 15 years before I transitioned to what I'm doing now. But in 2014, God really changed my heart as I was working with teenagers to really, what does it look like for discipleship at home, and how do we pour into parents? And so in 2014, I just made that year like, I'm going to do more for parents than I ever have before. And I was on staff at a church as the student pastor, and I just started experimenting and starting new things, and we're starting to see some really cool growth. And then God called me to Kingsland to be the adult discipleship pastor. And that's my title, but the way our church functions and our staff functions, everybody has your lane, but we're all umbrellaed as family pastors, because our church culture is a family ministry driven church. Everything that we do funnels back to connecting church and home. And so what adult discipleship means is I'm discipling parents to disciple their kids at home. And it all started in 2014 when God just opened my heart to just want to love and care for parents. And it just has been a journey. It's been a wild ride. And now we're seeing that the church, we have to equip parents to do it at home, because they can't come to the building. And so it's all kind of, the dominoes are coming together. But that's a little synopsis of my role. I help lead our family ministry strategy, if you will. I help oversee what we do, big picture, with all our age group ministries and all that stuff as well, alongside our executive pastor and our student pastor. We kind of make a three-headed monster of the family ministry leadership. So,
Well, that's kind of what prompted this call this week, as we were talking about what different churches were doing. We were talking about how churches were having to adapt. That it would seem to me that your church was really equipped better than most to make this adjustment. And yet, as we were talking yesterday, even with that, even though y'all were probably better equipped, there's still been some adjustment as far as what you're doing. Can you describe some of that?
Yeah. And so, our church, I've only been here 2 years, not even 2 years, but way before I got here, this family ministry model of doing church has been going. We stand on shoulders of people who have paved the path way before we got here. And the model of parents being the primary faith trainer has been since decades ago. Former staff here at Kingsland have transitioned to work for D6 and different family ministry organizations. And so we have a different culture already. And so our parents have been hearing from us for years and years and years that you're the primary faith trainer, that you're the A team, the church is the B team. Like we say that to them all the time. Like it wasn't a surprise. They were surprised. A lot of parents are surprised when the school said, "Hey, you're now the teacher. You're doing all the schoolwork." But for our people, it wasn't anything new for them to hear, "Hey, you're the main disciple maker of your kids," because we do it. And the three things that we say to parents over and over as the primary faith trainer, three actions of a primary faith trainer is: one, faith talks, having intentional time, sharing things through scripture, through prayer, to have a genuine time with their kids. That's the first one, is faith talks. The second one is God moments, capturing God moments, where these are organic throughout the day, stuff that you can capture to disciple your kids, the headlines or whatever it might be, using God moments. So number one is faith talks. Number two is capturing God moments. And then number three is celebrating the milestones. And so we have a legacy milestone path that we go through from birth to graduation and beyond, that each phase of a kid's life, the church equips parents to lead out those milestones. Parents are, the ones that we encourage, when a kid accepts Christ, before, a lot of churches like, "Oh, you need to call the pastor, or you need to call the children's pastor and sit down and pray with them." And we still offer that, but we in turn give parents a resource packet, a new believers packet for them to disciple their kids through. If a kid wants to be baptized, we let parents baptize them. We believe that parents are the ones that get to celebrate in that moment. So there's oftentimes when we do baptisms, it's always the parents doing it. So all that to say, we have a unique culture where we are already pouring in and equipping our parents to do this. But our adjustments that we've had to make is, what exactly do parents need? We're constantly asking. It was like every single day asking, okay, what do they need from us? What's working, what's not working, and how can we adjust? And even Sunday, we had to adjust again when President Trump announced that he's going through April 30th. Like it's an everyday adjustment of exactly what we need. We have things on Facebook and Instagram and resources that go out daily. We just adjusted that. We had things that were going out 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, noon, and 5 o'clock every day. And we had to sit back and go, okay, now that they're in school, doing things at 10 and noon is too much. So let's just do something at noon. And we just adjusted. So other than that, like just trying to figure out and meet needs individually, we haven't really adjusted a whole lot. Everything's just now online. And I think the big thing that we've learned through this is we're not program driven, and we're vision led. And so our vision is to equip parents to be the primary faith trainers. And so that hasn't changed at all. We just get to pour gas on it because they have no choice. Like they can't drop off their kid on Wednesday for students. They can't go to Sunday school with their children. Like they have to lead. And so we're just encouraging them, saying, you're the right person for this job. You're the only person for this job. Like it's more encouragement now of parents who feel inadequate of going, no, you can do this. And so that's been the biggest adjustment is just continuing to encourage them to do it. So I hope that answered. That was a long answer, but.
No, I think that's on target, though. I mean, I think one of the things that we've realized is that while we were doing some things, and even the repeated messages that we have here that fit our philosophy, there are people who that they're not even nodding their head in agreement, but ignoring it. They just come and do church as they've been accustomed to, or as they feel like church is. But the message is heightened during crisis.
Yep.
And so it's good to hear from your perspective kind of how that has happened for you guys, even though you have this broad philosophy that's been effective. You've got some real sensitive ears now, I mean, regardless of how well people had bought in or were participating in that.
Yeah. And it's, I think the greatest compliment that we're getting from our people is, when we knew that this was getting serious, I believe it was the 14th. It was Sunday the 15th. A lot of churches were like, okay, do we cancel or do we keep going? The 14th, I got together with Brad Flurry, our executive pastor, and Joe, our student pastor. We got together and said, okay, tomorrow, people around the country are about to hear what the church is not going to be able to do. And so we said, what are we going to tell our people that we are going to do? And so we brainstormed for about 3 hours at Brad's kitchen and just came up with content ideas and things that we're going to give our people, give our parents, because they're about to be told a lot of stuff that's not going to happen. And so our people have just blown us away with support of like, thank you for all that you're doing. And we've challenged ourselves, like, are we doing too much? And we kind of came back and said, I'd rather be known as a church that's doing too much than people say my church isn't doing anything at all. And so that's been pretty awesome to hear feedback from our people. But
yeah, as we go through this, I mean, I know that you're a learner and that you evaluate.
Yeah.
What, at least this week, kind of what's on your radar of things that as y'all have met and evaluated, what are you learning that might influence your future, the things that you're going to do ahead of this?
Yeah, we keep saying, we have accelerated into the future of the church rapidly. And so when we get back into the buildings, there's going to be some things that go back to normal, but the church will never be the same. And so the challenge will be us trying to get back into the church and then just try to do things like we used to. And so we're having the conversations now. It's like, what are the innovations that we need to add when we do get back in? Example that we talked about yesterday was we have, community groups or Sunday school, whatever you call it, for our adults. We're seeing that the Zoom meetings for all of our community groups online, we're actually seeing more attendance. And so do we do smart boards in our classrooms so that people who can't be there for their community group can get online and be live with their group and check in and do the prayer time? What does that even mean? What does that look like for us to adjust for the future? What does online church look like? Before it was, hey, we're hitting play on the YouTube channel or the live, and it's just live and we've got like 50 people. Do we do more interactive? Do we need an online or a virtual pastor that is doing things online now? Like, we're just having the conversation of what are the changes to get ahead of it? What are the changes that this is going to have long-term for the church? And we don't have all the answers, but we're for sure trying to have the conversation and trying to pick the brain of a lot of great ministry leaders, just to figure out what that looks like. And we don't have all the answers, but we're having the conversation at least.
Yeah. Well, you kind of jumped ahead there too. What I was thinking is just, trying to figure out what the future for the church, what it really looks like. And, it's interesting in some ways, a lot of the devices that we felt like kept us from being devoted people have become the very devices that have helped us become more devoted people.
Yeah.
Even in the sense of community. So it's definitely going to have an impact as we do ministry in the future.
Yeah. And I was thinking the other day of like church history. You had, in the 50s and 60s, you had parents who, mostly moms, not a lot of dads, that would go take their kids to church. There wasn't a lot of age specific ministries. And so the discipleship was there. It just kind of looked different. And then you get into the 70s, 80s, 90s, and you see the professional children and student ministries emerge where you have some really great ministry going on. But all the discipleship's left to the church, to those youth pastors and youth workers, and to the children's pastors. And so you have a generation now who were raised in that, time frame, that now have kids. So all they know is take my kids to church, because that's what I did. I was discipled at church, and I was, and so we have this culture now that is really driven and focused on the programs, where I think the future of the church is kind of going back to an older model of discipleship where the family is the main realm. So we're even talking, what does that mean for children's ministry? What does that mean for student ministry? What does that look like for the future of the, pastoral leadership? What are churches have needs on staff now? If we're really going to think about the future, what does this all mean? And again, I don't have a clue. We don't all know, but I think we got to start the conversation now.
Well, that's what we felt like, that we sort of turned a corner this week and tried to start thinking through things that where we currently are. And I know that most people that are doing church right now and adjusting to more of an online platform, they're probably beginning to develop their rhythm. They've kind of found this rhythm, and then now we realize that there'll be a time when the gatherings resume. It's going to be different.
Yeah.
But, hey, listen, along these same kinds of subjects, I wanted you to talk a little bit about one of your projects. And I don't know if it's a project as much as it is just a part of your ministry, but talk a little bit about Empowered Homes. We want our folks to be aware of that movement. I hope it's a movement. If it's not, maybe we can help you make it a movement.
Oh man.
Share a little bit about that and what's going on.
Yeah. So Empowered Homes, one of our core values as a church is empowered homes. Like we've talked about that. It's in our DNA. It's what we do. And so last year when I got on staff, our pastor kind of gave me this, not task, but challenge, not just our whole staff really. And he had this vision for years and years and years. What does it look like to take all of our family ministry resources and put it in one place? And so last year we started making this a reality. Our executive pastor of ministry started collecting everything that we're doing. And then basically me and one of our operations pastors sat down and said, how do we make this come true? And so we dreamed and started making it happen. So we created a website where we call it a resource portal internally. It's just a portal into what we do at Kingsland, but we have made it in such a way that it's for anybody. We have two sites.
We could all access that at empoweredhomes.com. Is that right?
.org, empoweredhomes.org. And so we have two sides of the site. The main side that everybody gets on is just for parents, for adults, for anybody. So if you guys link it and send it to your people, it is geared towards anybody looking for answers to tough questions. And that on the homepage, we have a search bar, kind of like Google, and that's our hope is families would stop going to Google, or they could still go to Google and probably find great answers on different stuff. But when it comes to three major categories, what we have is marriage, parenting, and personal growth. We just hit 360 resources yesterday, and we've got probably a 30 going out in the next 2 weeks. But it's just a simple resource. We have articles, we have podcasts, we have videos, we have links to other resources, and also have some downloads that you can download. One of the downloads that I just worked on yesterday was 10 pocket prayers when you feel overwhelmed, and these are just quick 1-sentence prayers based out of scripture that we can just kind of print out and keep with us. Just simple tools to connect church and home. And so Empowered Homes, that's our heart. We want to grow strong families by connecting church and home, and I love it. I would say, my role with Empowered Homes is I'm the content curator. I make sure, I make sure all the resources are quality when they get on there, and most of it's from our people. But we're starting to get outside churches that are partnering with us. They're sending in their content too, and it's been super fun.
So
And
for a church like ours, it's a good resource for our folks to piggyback on things that you're doing as we kind of provide, become a conduit of resources for them, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Any church can take it. And I was looking at some of the I guess analytics yesterday, and we've got about 20 churches that have it linked to their main website, because we're seeing people are accessing Empowered Homes through their website, which is awesome. We want churches to share this, take it, run with it, adjust resources for their own context. One of the other things we have for leaders, for you guys, Teak and Jerry, we have a leaders side of the portal, and basically all of our milestones are free of charge. You can see everything that we do on the back end, and you can take and adapt all of our stuff. And so the 3 categories on the leader side of the site are family, ministry, discipleship strategy, and then leadership development. So we have a ton of resources for churches to access and use. It's not for general population. It's geared specifically to ministry leaders, and we got a ton of resources on there for you guys as well.
Okay. Hey, cool. And you mentioned a podcast.
Yeah.
Is that a weekly?
So it's weekly. Every Thursday we launch a new episode. We're being a little bit more frequent now. Powered Homes podcast. Tuesdays we're adding a COVID-19 episode where we're trying to talk different things. Like I'm recording one with my wife where we're going to talk about conflict in the middle of all this, talk about our kids, talk about just the craziness of home life, and just be candid about all that. And so Tuesdays is we're doing special episodes, but every Thursday we have a ton of great content, great interviews with writers and authors and people who are in the family ministry world. It's crazy. I got another book today in the mail from somebody that wanted to be on the podcast. Like, it's just super fun and lighthearted. And our co-host Maggie, she's one of our children's pastors. She's so fun, and it's fun to hang out with her and do stuff with. So it's fun.
My co-host is Teak.
I like Teak. I like his beard.
He's my co-host for like everything, though. I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like he's my Robin, and I'm Batman, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I like that analysis.
Well, you're into more of the superheroes than I am, so I'll let you define that. But we have a good time working together.
That's
well,
awesome.
Listen, Bobby, thanks a lot, man, for letting us take some of your time this morning. I know that you're busy, and we appreciate this impulsive thought that we had yesterday, and you willing to let us act on it as quickly as we did. And we want to share things that you're doing and see how we can also be a part of helping homes here in Sweetwater, Texas. So just know that your reach is far, and we thank you a lot for all that you're doing.
Hey, thank you guys. One of our, things that God put on our heart is, I guess it was 6 years ago at Kingsland, was to reach 10,000 homes. And we didn't know that didn't mean Katy, Texas. That's
Right.
That's all over the country, and God's doing some cool stuff. We're going to look back and see him at work in the midst of all of this, and just be in awe. It's pretty fun to be a part of. Thank you guys.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bobby. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Yep.
Thanks.